Okay.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon. Thank you for joining me, Sheikh Muhammad Saifuddin and Sheikh Muhammad Saleh from the Center for Science and Environment Studies, Institute of Islamic Understanding Malaysia, IKIM. And in this week's edition of Man and Nature, produced by Hajah Mazlina Ismail, we will be discussing another important topic, and that topic is biodiversity conservation and the palm oil industry. Ladies and gentlemen, to enlighten us on this very important topic, I am delighted to introduce our special guest today, Mr. Ahmad Shahdan bin Kasim, who is Conservation Manager at the Malaysian Palm Oil Green Conservation Foundation. Assalamualaikum, Cik Shahdan.
Waalaikumsalam, Doctor.
Thank you for being able to join me in this program today. And I think we have a lot to discuss regarding our topic. But as a start, as an introduction, perhaps I think many may not be aware of the Malaysian Palm Oil Green Conservation Foundation. Maybe you would like to give us a brief introduction about the foundation to our listeners.
All right, thank you, Dr. Sheikh. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Actually, the Malaysian Palm Oil Green Conservation Foundation is still a newly established foundation, but the work of conservation under the foundation started way back in 2006. And back in 2006, at that time, what we have under Malaysian Palm Oil Council, MPOC, is what we call Malaysian Palm Oil Wildlife Conservation Funds, or MPOGCF in short. MPOGCF, the idea started back in 2006, and the idea started because back at that time, the attack or accusation on the palm oil industry in Malaysia is at the peak. And the accusation is, not being healthy to human being, and the destruction of forest and habitat of wildlife, especially the orangutan. So MPOC started the idea, and in 2007, MPOGCF has been officially initiated and started some of the conservation project in Malaysia. At that time, the funds, we started at about 20 million ringgit, 10 million ringgit from the government, and the other 10 million ringgit from the palm oil industry. So at that time, the focus activity was actually on supporting wildlife and biodiversity conservation in Malaysia. And we do that with collaboration with relevant agency, such as Sabah Wildlife Department and Perkhidmatan and all that. And at that time, the focus species is the Bornean orangutan, of course, the Bornean pygmy elephant in Sabah, and also Asian elephant in Peninsular Malaysia, Malayan tiger, and also bunting. Bunting is slightly smaller than our seladang, and it only exists in mostly in Sabah. So we start the project there in Sabah because at that time the acquisition on the industry mainly focused in Sarawak. Okay, and besides all these wildlife conservation efforts, MPOGCF also support forest restoration program and also support research for wildlife and biodiversity conservation. And these research were conducted to help make the industry become more sustainable, more wildlife friendly or environment friendly. And then as the time goes by, MPOGCF has developed more projects, and some projects have become bigger, like for example the Malayan tiger program. And we also have initiated the 1 million forest trees planting. So all these mega project, it requires more funds, more stable fund. So in 2019, MPOC have started the work of upgrading this fund or tabung amanah under MPOGCF into a foundation. because when you have a foundation, then it becomes more stable, because the industry has agreed to actually pay more cess to the government, which is RM1 per every ton of oil palm produced to the foundation, or MPOGCF lah, as we know it today. So in April 2021, MPOGCF, the foundation, was officially established, and I would like to share the 5 objectives of the MPOGCF. And the first one is to encourage reforestation program in areas identified as degraded in Malaysia. The second one is to encourage research and study on the effectiveness of endangered wildlife and the biodiversity conservation efforts in Malaysia. The third one is to assist NGOs in funding wildlife conservation activities, biodiversity and best sustainability practices in Malaysia. The fourth one is to encourage and promote conservation initiative and best sustainability practices in oil palm plantation in Malaysia. And the last one, last but not least, is enhancing conservation, biodiversity and sustainability efforts that benefits Malaysian palm oil producers and also consumers worldwide.
Right. Thank you, Cik Shahdan. I think from what you have explained, the Malaysian Palm Oil Green Conservation Foundation has a lot of potential to contribute towards sustainability, especially with regards to the palm oil industry. And we know that the palm oil industry is very important to the Malaysian economy. So
Yes.
could you explain, how does the palm oil industry support conservation activities in Malaysia?
Okay, so I think to answer this question, I would like to share some of the conservation initiative or activities which are undertaken by MPOGCF, and I will highlight the first a few major projects. And the first one that I would like to highlight is the Malayan Tiger Conservation Program, because right now everybody is talking about saving selamatkan harimau Malaya campaign, saving the Malayan Tiger program, and this conservation program that we have is actually in collaboration with the Department of Wildlife and National Park Perhilitan. In this project, what we aim to do is a 5-year project. What we aim to do is to actually to breed the tiger, which currently hold under Perhilitan facilities in Sungai. We want to breed this tiger ex situ or in captivity. We breed them, and the ultimate goal of this program is to actually reintroduce these tigers back to their natural habitat, because as we know now the population is low, and we believe that the population is declining unless we intervene, we do something to increase the population back. And I think one of the way to do that is through this captive breeding program. And right now we have selected 6 tigers to go through this reproduction program. Breeding program, where the tiger will we put in a facility in Sungai. They will breed, and from these 6 tigers, we aim to produce 5 cubs. And from these 5 cubs, we will want to put them through a rewilding program and return them back to the natural habitat. And here, our contribution, MPOGCF contribution, is by funding the food and the medication for the tiger, and also some of the requirement activities that needs to be done to ensure that this program is a success. And it also involves post-release monitoring program, because we don't want to, we breed the tiger, we spend a lot of money here, millions of ringgit actually. And then when we release the tiger back to the forest, then the poachers will go there and then, catch the tiger, and then it's a loss again. Okay. And the second project that I would like to highlight is 1 million tree planting in Sabah. This project, we target to plant 1 million forest tree species in Lower Kawak Forest Reserve in Sabah. we aim to restore about 2,500 hectares of this identified degraded area in that forest reserve there. And we plan to do this in 10 years' time. And one of the reasons why we want to restore this area is because this area has been identified as one of the main Bornean orangutan habitat, and that's why we want to restore the area so that the population there is stable, if not increased. And this project, we are doing it in collaboration with Sabah Forestry Department. Okay. And the third project that I would like to highlight here is Wildlife Rescue Unit in Sabah. This Wildlife Rescue Unit, or WRU, their main objective is to rescue, rehab, and relocate wildlife from conflict area, from the oil palm plantation area, even from residential area. And as of today, they have already carried out more than 500 rescue operation. So that means more than 500 wildlife have actually been rescued from conflict area and returned back to the natural habitat. So from these three main activities that I've highlighted here, it shows how the industry have actually support the conservation activities that are available in Malaysia.
Right. I think what you have shared are indeed very impressive. They are commendable efforts in terms of the activities that are being carried out. Now, but we know for a fact that in some countries, especially from the western part of the world, palm oil has been blamed as the cause for deforestation and also wildlife extinction. Now, perhaps you have some views on this argument.
All right. Yeah, well, the Western countries, especially the EU, they have done this. Blaming the industry for deforestation, wildlife extinction, and they're not just blaming the industry for these two. They're also blaming us for not being healthy. But we're not talking about that today. So again, I think what we need to understand here is every country, they have their rights, to develop their country, because there are people to feed. So when you talk about development, you have to talk about sustainable development. And when you talk about sustainable development, you have to go back to the three pillars of sustainable development, which is people, planet, profit. So these three P, you have to balance them, and how you balance them, that's up to the creativity, up to the management of each country of what they want to do with their natural resources or land available. So in this case, in Malaysia, for oil palm industry, yes, some of the land that we utilize to plant oil palm, they were, a long time ago, a forest. Some of them are secondary forests, and this area we have no choice but to develop, because we want to feed the people. And one good thing about Malaysian palm oil industry is that the government, through the Ministry of Plantation Industry and Commodities, we have committed to cap the plantation area of oil palm at 6.5 million hectare. So currently we are at 5.7 million hectare, and out of these 5.7 million hectares of area planted with palm oil, they actually owned by smallholders, about 40% of them. So palm oil industry, like you said, Doctor, in the beginning, it's a very important industry for the country, for Malaysia, because this industry, it provides almost 500,000 of direct jobs, to the people, and it supports more than 2 million people in this country. And in terms of export revenue, in 2021 alone, the industry, the palm oil and palm oil based product, the revenue is about 108 billion ringgit, and that's a lot. And we expect that the amount will increase further in 2022 because of the high oil palm price. And these oil palm, they are very efficient actually. So from 1 hectare of land planted with oil palm, it can produce up to about 4 tons of oil. And the economic lifespan of this tree is 25, 30 years. And the tree will start to produce fruit as early as 4 years. And even though I've mentioned that the tree will produce economic lifespan about 25 to 30 years, it doesn't mean that the tree will stop producing fruits after 30 years, but it still continue. It's just that it's not economically sensible anymore. So with all these high yield, the amount of people depending on the industry and the conservation initiative activities that were done by MPOGCF, not just MPOGCF, but each company, like for example, SMW, they have their own initiative, conservation initiative. So all these factor that I just mentioned here, it shows that the industry is actually fulfilling the 3 P's of the sustainable development, which is the people, the planet, and the profit. So when the Western people, they are accusing the industry of being the cause of deforestation and wildlife extinction, well, there's nothing we can do about it. We have to utilize some of the land, and by fulfilling all these 3 P's of the sustainable development, I think we can say that the industry in Malaysia, the palm oil industry in Malaysia, is considered as sustainable.
Right, inshallah. I think what's important, one of the things that you mentioned, not many people are aware that the land for plantation of palm oil is capped at 6.5 million hectares. I think this is something that not many people know. Perhaps this is something I think that we can share with the public so that they are aware of this fact. And as it is, as you said, we've only used up 5.7 million hectares. So basically, from what I understand from your explanations, that we're trying to manage plantation in a sustainable and environmentally friendly manner. So now this has to do with sustainable development, definitely. So is there any government agenda to promote sustainable palm oil production that are in line with the SDGs or Sustainable Development Goals?
Yeah, sure. In Malaysia, the industry is actually regulated. In fact, the palm oil industry is the most regulated industry, I would say, in the world. We have RSPO, we have ISCC, all these terms. We have also the newest one is MSPO. But here, I think I would like to highlight more on MSPO, or Malaysian Sustainable Palm Oil Certification Scheme, which is a national scheme developed by local people for the industry to help the industry become more sustainable, because this MSPO certification scheme is actually to show that the industry is actually have the commitment to ensure that the oil palm industry is conducted in the most sustainable manners. I will not actually explain too much on the MSPO, because MSPO have another agency which are doing it, which is the MPOCC, or Malaysian Palm Oil Certification Council. They can actually elaborate more on MSPO. But what I want to share today about MSPO is, firstly, I would like to share the 7 principles of the MSPO itself. The first one is on management, commitment, and responsibility. The second principle is on transparency. The third principle is on compliance to legal requirements. The fourth principle is on social responsibility, health, safety, and employment condition. The fifth one, this is directly related to what we're talking today. The fifth principle is on environment, natural resources, biodiversity, and ecosystem services. The sixth principle is best practices. The last one is development of new planting. So when you talk about MSPO certification, I think we should be proud of the achievement of the industry itself, because as of today, out of that 5.7 million hectares of land planted with oil palm, about 5.6 million hectares actually certified by MSPO, meaning 5.6 million hectares of area planted with palm oil are actually conducted in the most sustainable manners as guided in MSPO certification scheme. And not just the plantation area that are certified sustainable by MSPO, but they also certified mills, refineries, and also processing facilities. And so far, 574 entities, meaning all these mills, refineries, and processing facilities, they have been certified by under MSPO scheme. Yes, Doctor.
Okay, thank you, Cik Shahdan. Now, in terms of sustainability, why is it palm oil is more preferable?
Okay, that's a good question, Doctor. You know, in this world, when you talk about vegetable oil, there are actually other options or other type of vegetable oil, like for example, soya oil, sunflower oil, canola oil, corn oil, not to mention, you know, other many oils, other many type of oil, even olive oil. But when you talk about production of vegetable oils and sustainability, we can say that oil palm is in a way more sustainable compared to other type of vegetable oil crops, because firstly, this oil palm is not an annual crop, you know, like sunflower or canola. Annual means they have to plant every year and then, you know, plant a new plant every year. Oil palm is actually a perennial plant. Perennial means it can last for a very long time. And like I've mentioned earlier, economic lifespan for oil palm is 25, 30 years. And the tree can produce fruits, hence the oil, as early as 4 years old. And after 30 years, of course, the tree will still produce fruits, but it's just that at that age, the tree is too tall. And this is one of the reasons why it is not economical anymore to harvest the fruits, and it become a safety issue. So that's why after 30 years, normally the company or the owner of the plantation, they will replace the tree with a new planting. Okay. And each fresh fruit bunch, the fruit itself, it weighs around 30 to 50 kg. And out of this weight, 20% of it is oil. So that's why we come up with the average tonnage of oil produced, about 4 tons per hectare per year. And when you compare this yield to other type of oil such as soya, sunflower or canola, soya can only produce about 0.39 tons of oil per hectare per year. Sunflower about 0.5 tons of oil per hectare per year, and canola 0.7 ton of oil per hectare per year. So when you compare that in terms of tonnage, palm oil is leading way ahead of the other competitors. So when the oil can produce a lot of more oil in a small size of land, you know, per hectare, so that means it requires less land area compared to the other competitors. So this makes the oil palm or palm oil the most efficient crops, oil-bearing crops in the world. And not to mention all these good agricultural practices, you know, IPM, integrated pest management practices in the plantation, zero burning policies. All these are actually policies or technique or method of planting which makes the oil palm very sustainable. So hence that's why when you want to talk about sustainability and choice of vegetable oil or cooking oil, I would say palm oil is your number one choice.
Right. Thank you for that explanation, Cik Shahdan. I think for Malaysia, we are very fortunate because palm oil is one of the Malaysia is one of the countries that can actually have palm oil plantation, and we have successfully used palm oil to generate our own economy and
Yes.
also develop our country. I think this is something that we should be grateful for. But at the same time, as you have pointed out in answering the questions that I've asked, it is also equally important that we look after the environment by ensuring that the
Yes.
plantation is carried out responsibly and also in a sustainable manner.
Yeah.
We've actually come towards the end of our program, Cik Shahdan, how time flies.
Yes.
Perhaps towards the end of this program, do you have any last words or conclusion that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Okay. So I think as a conclusion, what I want to say here is that um, the palm oil industry, Malaysia is one of the main producer. In fact, we are number two. And the way we manage our plantation, the way we produce our palm oil is not the same as other country. I would not comment about how other countries doing it because our concern is Malaysia, how we produce our cooking oil from palm oil. So from all the examples that I've shared, I think Malaysian, we should be proud to use our palm oil because after I shared this information with you all, it shows that the Malaysian palm oil industry in Malaysia, we are actually really keeping the balance between the three P's, like I said earlier: people, planet, and profit. So in terms of conservation, MPOGCF, we are considered as the conservation arm of the industry. So what the industry cannot do in terms of conservation, I mean, they are focusing more on the production. So we will focus more on conservation. So the funds that we use to do all these conservation efforts to save the species, the endangered species like our elephant, tigers, and all that, the money comes from the industry. So it shows that the industry is not just focusing on profit. They are also want to contribute back, to the environment, to the biodiversity, to wildlife, and hence that's why the existence of the foundation itself. So I think again, like I said, we Malaysian, we should be proud about our Malaysian palm oil. That's all, Doctor.
I think your organization, the Malaysian Palm Oil Green Conservation Foundation, has a very, very big role to play.
It
And
is.
definitely, I think if what you're doing is successful, inshallah, I think
Inshallah.
the palm oil industry will be sustainable and also we will have a thriving wildlife habitat in the country.
Yes.
I think this is
Okay,
what we
Doctor.
are looking
Inshallah.
for. Inshallah, this is what we are looking for, and this is what I think we should be striving for. And I think
Yes.
as a member of the public, I think we need to give our support to MPO GCF to carry out your tasks and also responsibilities. Okay, Cik Shatan, thank you for sharing some of the things about Malaysian Palm Oil Green Conservation Foundation and its efforts in ensuring that the palm oil industry is sustainable, in ensuring that our biodiversity is conserved. I think what you've shared is indeed very valuable and very informative to our
Thank you.
listeners. So I hope to see you again in the future, perhaps in another episode of Man and Nature in our new season. So I think the
Inshallah.
topic that we have discussed is certainly an important one, not to mention can be somewhat controversial to some people, but at least you've shed some light on the issue so that I hope that we can understand where we stand and what we're doing today. So I think again, I'd like to thank you, Cik Shahdan, for your time and also your sharing. Inshallah, I believe that the information regarding biodiversity conservation in the palm oil industry has enlightened us very much. So with that, I think I'd like to end the program with wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.